You make hamburgers with white bread?
What is this guy doing?
White people shit.
I was just gonna say that sounds like some trailer.
We didn't have hot dog buns, so we just used white bread.
Yo, what is going down? It's the Misinformed podcast. My man Johnny Chill to my right.
Yep.
My man Trav Nasty.
What up?
What's going on, y'all? I want you guys to introduce today's guest on the show because you guys know him well. He's one of your good friends. You guys have all worked together, known each other for a while. And we got a great conversation that's going to take place today. And I'll let you guys introduce your guest here.
Yes. This is our guest here is actually a good friend of mine, Yasser. Me and Johnny actually met him. He used to live next door to us.
Gave us sound complaints,
Yeah,
noise complaints.
Actually, I'll tell that story.
I was married. My wife made me do it.
How long ago was that?
That was like six years ago.
About 6 years ago. So we lived like next door to each other.
In the same building that we're in now.
He complained on me and Johnny and the landlord at
because
the
I
time
had a
was
wife.
She was like,
she made me do it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep saying that.
Yeah, so anyway, so one day I
tell
seen
them to quiet down. I don't care. I like their music.
Wait. That's how you guys met?
Yeah.
That's how we met.
Shut
So we're
up.
like, fuck, this
I
fool
didn't know
hates
that.
Hey, so we knew.
rehearsing in the house.
We were just bumping music late night. We got the noise complaint, so we decided like next time we see him outside, we're just gonna walk up to him and say, "Hey, we're your neighbors. You got a problem? If we're too loud, just let us know."
We're just gonna kill him too.
Oh, I thought that was gonna go way differently.
Nah,
Next time we see him outside,
Nah,
we're just gonna
bomb.
swinging on- swinging on cuz.
Hands up.
Yeah.
Nah. So I seen
that
seen
fade.
his wife outside, and I ran over there. I told her just text me. I gave her my number. I was like, if you have any problems, please don't go to the landlord. Just text us. We'll keep it down.
But dude, hands down,
We were cool after that.
You were a gentleman about it. From the moment you
Yeah.
apologized
And we were-
until
and we
this
were
moment
cool.
we were at
Honestly,
this table, you've been nothing but gentlemen.
Next time we seen you, we apologize to you as well. And then after that, it's been gravy.
Yasser was the illest neighbor you could ever have. He'd come home at like 2 after closing up the restaurant and just knock on our sliding glass door.
Who's got a
Bring
meat
in
combo?
food. He'd have like 3
Yeah,
things
yes.
of food. At like 3 in the morning, we were high as fuck.
Drunk as a
That's dope.
motherfucker.
Yes.
That's dope.
Right,
Where
dude.
was this at? This place right over here?
It's this building.
Oh,
but it was
this
the
building.
first floor. Yeah.
Wow.
When me and Trav lived together.
Oh, obviously it was first floor. If he was able to go over to the sliding, I didn't
He
put all that
just jumped
together.
over onto the balcony on the 17th floor.
Yeah, he actually Spider-Man up the side. He had those little things that clamp to the side.
Dude, and it's crazy,
That's
man,
dope,
because every time I drive by this building, I think like, man, how much life has changed for, first of all of us.
Jesus.
And then,
Not married no more? though?
I'm not married anymore.
Oh, wow. Sorry to hear that.
No,
He worked,
it's okay.
Worked with us at T-Mobile.
Yeah.
Moved on. Like we've been through an evolution of friendship.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Even did a little bit of music a couple of times.
So this building's
Yeah.
nostalgic for you.
Definitely.
Little
in
bit.
good
This
ways
area.
and in bad
Yeah,
ways.
yeah.
These guys keep the memory of like good, but it's also got.
Were you living here when you
sad
were working
memories.
there?
Right.
So you're just walking across
Yeah.
the street too?
No.
Oh no! Oh, I thought you meant at the restaurant.
Oh,
The
no,
restaurant's
sorry.
like on Colorado Boulevard, right down the way.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, shout out to Damascus.
But
Yeah, exactly.
His
Damascus
family's restaurant is a few blocks south of here on Colorado
What kind of
Boulevard.
food?
Middle Eastern,
Middle Eastern food.
It
Middle
is
Eastern,
fire.
Mediterranean, Syrian.
It is
food.
fire.
Okay.
If you want to go to a restaurant and get a real genuine experience of people just being kind,
Yeah.
go to Damascus.
Exactly.
Like I've
walk
always been
in,
taken care of.
There'll be
I don't
Tupac on the radio.
Yeah, I don't ex- and I
Like,
don't
this is a
expect to
genuine
ever get taken
experience.
care of monetary wise.
It's the best Thomas.
How
He will
authentic.
walk up to you and sit down at your table and have a conversation with you, as long as you're obviously into that.
Yeah.
But
I feel him out first.
yeah, he's
Before I just
definitely a
throw
very
myself out.
personable
Shut the
person.
fuck
A
up.
people
The
person.
fuck's
Good
that?
food,
Just wanna eat my hummus.
Incredible food.
Yeah. Don't
Yeah,
go to
man.
that whack ass garbanzo, huh?
Got a bonzo.
Yeah.
Don't even mention
The
that.
Chipotle of Mediterranean food.
No, Chipotle is bomb.
No.
Chipotle, but it's not bomb Mexican food.
Oh yeah. It's
That's why it's Americanized
That's a
Yeah.
good one.
Mediterranean.
But
food.
here's to a long friendship. Hopefully, many more years. Bro.
Yeah.
Always.
Salute, dog.
Absolutely,
We
man.
love seeing you.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
And then you do music too, man. So that's cool too, because you can. He can sing. He can play guitar.
He can rap.
Guitar, man.
He can rap.
He can
Yeah,
rap.
see, you can rap.
I should have. I was jamming out today with the family.
I've been telling
some-
you for a long time you should be doing poetry like your sister does.
Thank you, man.
I
She
think-
just took it to another level. I just stayed in the restaurant career. She actually had the opportunity to like
Talk about
be
it.
like,
for a
I got the
minute.
next 5 months to be creative.
Shout out to your sister, bro.
Yeah.
Seriously,
Hello?
shout out to Amal Kassir. Amal Kassir, like seriously, like America's national slam poet on behalf of like the refugees and the brokenhearted, and like basically anyone that's misplaced, all the homeless, basically everyone that Johnny Cash wore the black for.
Of course, yeah.
You know
And
what I mean?
So tell
That TED
me culturally, like, introduce yourself a little bit. Tell them about where you're from,
For sure.
where you grew up, just so that way the listeners can understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know.
I come from an interesting mix of German, Norwegian, and then Syrian. So just speaking to my mother within the last couple of days, because we've had like a small little family reunion, I was like, Mom, what the hell are we exactly? She's just like, your grandfather was Norwegian and your grandmother was full-blooded German.
this is the first time we're hearing this as the fam.
So that's where the whiteness kind of comes from, and then from my dad's side, Syrian and Turkish. So it's funny how like you got these ancient cultures and all these old empires and all that, but in the end, it's just like all it takes is a dude from Damascus, Syria, and a woman from Council Bluffs, Iowa, to meet. You know what I mean? And have 5 kids, and then the legacy just continues a whole nother way. So my mom is from Council Bluffs, Iowa. And she's the child of immigrant parents who came, from Germany, and she had very humble beginnings. In the middle of Cowtown, small. Isolated, like super Baptist, conservative, middle of nowhere kind of city. Population is like, probably 5,000 or 6,000 people, so not very bustling. And my dad, exact same, take all of those things, but convert it into the Middle East. Small little village, far away from everybody knows each other, you know what I mean? And they both, it's funny when you put them on the parallel, they didn't go to school, normal kids would, kindergarten and middle school and blah, blah, blah in high school. Like, they basically went off and learned life on their own. My mom had to be a farm girl and my dad had to be a farm boy. And it's just crazy how, like, America has, we think we don't have any culture to, like, hold on to, but really, like, my mom is the epitome of that and has, like, 100-year-old recipes that her grandmother brought, that their family brought from Germany. And
Right,
like,
that's dope.
and the scary part is, like, when you dig into the German roots, dude, they're straight up just like, it goes into like Nazism, it goes into
Scary.
and then
that.
and then when I look into my dad's side, the Turkish part and the Syrian part, where I get my last name Kassir, which means short, actually comes from a great grandfather of mine who was very short in stature, who gave the French hell, and he was known as the short one. The
Trev,
short one.
Wow.
do not start calling me Lucia.
You know what I mean?
Do not.
That's awesome.
Do not.
Getting a little bit of info.
I know.
That's dope, though.
So my dad came here, 1973, after 2 other brothers had come here before him and had epitomized the American dream, and we're like, this is America.
Where were they at?
1970. They came to Iowa first, and then one went to Ohio, I think it was.
Jesus.
And then
Those
the other
both
went to
seem like
Chicago.
not great places to
Well, actually, what was it? Is it
Definitely
plant your
Ohio.
seeds in the United States.
Like,
Doesn't seem like a good place.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. It was like this ship full of Arabs that just washed ashore, and it was Lincoln, Nebraska. And just imagine these
Jesus.
floodgates woke up. And these guys were like, there is not a single mosque here. There's not a single Arab-speaking person here. Like, we have just completely rearranged the demographics of this small little Christian town by just being this huge influx of...
Takeover.
Because after, as much as I hate to admit it, after the Syrian regime in its early fronts did sponsor a lot of international, student, campaigns and stuff like that. So a lot of them came. But at the same time, a lot of them, such as my dad, had to escape from the military in Syria. Because once you're 18, it's mandatory. They will come to your house, knock on your door.
You're coming with us?
And they're basically like, got your bags? Did you say goodbye to your parents? Like, let's go.
No choice?
So it's either you go and you sign up and you get ready and you prepare yourself mentally to go to the army. And there's conditions, of course. If you're the only child, you don't go. I think that's the only one. That's the only one. It's conditioned. There's one condition.
You're like handicapped? Okay.
Yeah. If you're wait a minute.
Oh, you got a
But
brother?
the only thing.
Well, let me specify. The bracket extends a little more. Yes, handicapped. You know what I mean. Anyways, any all of us
My
right
bad,
here,
yeah.
if any of us had any kind of like mental, like say for example, I was depressed or bipolar,
Schizophrenic.
they'd be like, big fucking deal. Get into the military. Like, we're not going to take that into consideration.
Jesus.
So there's no sensitivity to that
There's no
aspect.
there's no
Evaluation
sensitivity.
or
Mental health or-
who am I putting behind this
community.
fucking trigger in this army tank or anything like that.
That's wild.
So my dad was just like, fuck this. Like, he's like, the first 2 brothers, one was a doctor, cardiologist. So they're just like, oh, you're in college? Okay. Oh, that's the other condition. If you're in college and you're enrolled, you don't have to go.
Because you're gonna provide for the country. You're gonna bring back
in another economic
Yeah.
form, or currency. So my dad was just like, fuck this. He's just like, I don't have the ambition to go to college in this country, and he's just like, and I don't want to serve in the military, so he dipped out. So when he got to America, he was super young, and my dad was one of 14 kids. One of 14
Small
children.
family.
I know it's like
14 children.
all right, dude.
Good Lord.
Seriously, I got
Yeah.
cousins in like millions, man. It's just like I'm still meeting them until this day.
That's funny what you were saying about the military, because I feel like the U.S. is almost the same. Like, we don't have a restriction against like an only kid, but I don't think they properly screen people for mental health issues.
But imagine the system that you set up where people go and knock on your door and they're like, we want to join your military. There's a recruitment here, and we allow recruitment. These guys to come in these commercials over there, they're just like, we don't give a fuck whether you're serving the state. Your parents are here, you're here,
but we
you want to be
drafts,
here.
We had drafts similar.
That's true.
Where it's like, your number got called, you're going.
Exactly. That is
That's
true.
it. It's been
Is that just
30
because
plus
there's
years.
more? They're more like there's wars over there, so they have to do that.
Exactly.
Whereas
That's
if
what I
there
think.
was
That's
a
why
war
like,
you were in-
when
No.
yeah, when it was wars that we were involved in, like
We have
Vietnam,
to.
Not
the drafts
necessarily.
happened. You got pulled in.
Here's the thing: everyone has to enter the door that officially affirms who the authority of that country is. And when you go in there,
So
if
that's-
they don't give a fuck if you come from the highest family, when you go down there, dude, your drill sergeant is going to whip the shit out of you. They're going to put you inside of a well of shit for a few days. I mean, my uncle and two of my uncles did the military. They're like, look, it is psychological torture, it is physical torture, it's mental torture, and they're like, not only that, it's degrading throughout the whole way, and the whole time you're saying, fight for this guy whose picture is on the wall. You know what I mean? And it's like the Assad family and the Assad clan that's been there for the last 50 years. So he's just like, they treat you like shit, but they expect loyalty. So he's just like, that's where they kind of get those people who are loyal out of fear, as opposed to those people who are just like, I'm only loyal until my time is up, and then when I'm done, my campaign is to smear you. So my dad evaded that shit. You know what I mean? And two of his other brothers didn't, two of his brothers didn't actually. The other one passed away before it was his time. Allah yarhamu. That's who I was named after, actually. He died 2 weeks before I was born.
Oh, yeah.
So my dad met her. My dad met her when he came escaping from, his military obligations. And she was in the midst of, without...
Did he just pick up and get a flight? Like, is it that...
It was pretty much that easy. You apply for a visa and then you just overstay your shit and then you apply for your paperwork, or you marry an American. Which, that's why anytime you hear an Arab that's in love, you have to ask him, is it real love or is it green card love? Because there's two different kinds of love, right? Exactly.
Arabs, the new Mexicans.
But my dad told me, he's like, you applied for a visa to the United States in the 70s and 80s. He's like, you got it in 6 weeks. He's like, no questions asked. Everyone was allowed to go back. He's like, immigration was so easy. Everyone was just pouring in. Cousins, uncles, and entire families were just coming to the United States.
then-
They were just writing them off.
Did that all change after September 11th? You said the immigration process was easier.
Yeah.
After
It wasn't
September
as
11th.
filtered. Oh yeah, dude. After September, what you also got to remember, there was the Iran,
I'm not talking about illegal.
the Iran
illegal
Contra, the American and the Iran Contra. So just the Middle
I think
East.
it got harder before that, though. It got
The Gulf
harder.
I feel
War.
like
It was the
sure
Gulf
it
War,
did,
yeah.
but I feel like that was that pivotal point where people blamed an entire country for an extremist act, which it should not have done, obviously, but like that changed the way that everyone looked at Muslims.
That one's sensitive.
That made me overly sensitive towards Muslims. I was in college when it happened, and me and my best friend, my homeboy Brad, we were talking about setting up an organization where we welcomed in Muslims who were getting unfairly treated. Like, just because you're Muslim doesn't mean you had anything to do with this extreme act.
You're not
I
guilty
feel
by
like that was
association.
that pivotal point where everyone said, we got to look out for, like, the immigration process is not going to be easy anymore.
And dude, that's the thing is like, how did being a white privileged American completely just avoid that whole conversation altogether? And then when we arrive at 2016, we're like, what the fuck is wrong with the world?
Right,
It's just
right,
like,
right.
where have you been since 2000, 2001 when those fucking towers went down.
Look at the
because
flags
the rest,
that were flying.
every person who's of a darker color, and I'm not pointing at my skin like I'm a black person because I walk down the street and it's easy to look white. But dude, every person since that date, you know what I mean? It's meant something different, and also it's given us as a country, under the Bush administration at least, is 2 wars, and then the entitlement that we can cut taxes and spend. You know what I mean? So then it's just like, what are we doing to our children when in the end we're trying to justify these wars for freedom and democracy, but in the end it's just like the capital interest that we see during Christmas is just the most counter. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit into anything. You know what I mean? It's like we've built a machine and we don't even know how to stop it at this point.
What's crazy to me is like the most significant connection I can make to the American flag in my adult years is seeing people driving in Ford F-150s with an American flag or
an infidel written on the back of their shit.
Confederate flag. Somebody getting out of a car with an American flag and saying, "You fucking nigger, you fucking spick, you fucking towel head." I'm like, this is somebody who's grown up in this country. How do you be
synonymous with the flag?
Yeah, that's what the flag has almost become to me. Is like, I see it flying, and I'm like, I'm waiting for a Confederate flag on the opposite side of it.
You guys see this on I-25 when you're coming down? There's somebody every morning there's 2 people that are waving in both directions. They're waving a flag, and they're wearing like all red. And I'm like, that should feel like okay, patriotism and stuff. But for some reason, to me, like when I'm driving down, I feel
you're like, oh god,
this is creepy.
Oh, this is the white guy who does like not want to see my face.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, why does it feel like that?
Like KKK type of
nah,
shit?
just somebody
Trump
who
supporters, they're wearing all red.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, why does it feel that way?
It shouldn't, because if you're patriotic, you should feel great about your country.
Yeah.
But we have some setbacks here that we just really haven't.
You got to recognize what made your country great.
Like we haven't sat down and said, "Hey, let's work this out and just clear the table." We let it go and say, "Hey, it's in the past." And I sit here with a group of different fucking ethnic backgrounds. You know, you can be white, you can be my best friend. You can be black, you're my best friend. But you got to have that open mind to not accept old thinking.
Exactly.
Like that shit has ruined us for so long. Like, how do you look at somebody a different race from you and say, "That's my enemy," instead of just saying, "Yeah, this dude's probably a decent person,
than me,
and we can hang out, we can blow a chop, we can drink some beer, we can just fucking go talk about our favorite TV show."
Yeah.
And I feel like America's kind of we shied away from that conversation.
We know we need to have it, though. Everybody's like, we need to have the race conversation, but we're not.
This recent presidential election, like, that conversation came to the forefront and never got addressed. Mm-hmm. Everyone said, "Oh, we're in a bad place," but it wasn't. No one was reaching out across the table to find reparation. We were just ready to scrap. People were like, "You know what? Let me see this dude in the street. Like, I'm gonna hit this dude if he says this ignorant shit to me." So just trying to create a dialogue where we can patch shit up.
Someone made such a profound point, and it was I almost stood there ashamed of myself and ashamed of what I'd become throughout this whole last campaign. Not only did I fall for almost the fear mongering, because you're exposed to it so much and you're like, holy shit, the moment that we've subjected ourselves to like this pit of fear, we think life is gonna stop, but literally, bro, when you stop and like kind of look around, you're like, wow, something else is in control. And this sheikh had to get up onto the pulpit at the mosque, and he was just like, he was speaking to Muslims. He's like, Muslims, he's like, you have faith in God and in Allah. He's like, you think that Donald Trump went and over to the side on God's peripheral vision and did a bunch of things and won this election, and and then now God has no control? He's just like, you have to recognize, he's just like, this is just a new era, a new thing that's going to require new strengths to move through this time. He's just like, nothing stays complacent. Even if it was 8 years of happy democratic Obama, in the end, bro, if this is what it takes to wake up the people, is this blatant injustice and police brutality, then maybe, dude, we'll never let this happen again.
But at the same time, like, something like this is so beautiful. Like, people from all demographics sitting down to share views, and like, we don't all come from the same place, but I feel like we are the new generation. Like, we're past the idea of I gotta hang out with somebody who looks like me. I gotta talk to somebody who looks like me. I want to be around people who think like me, and my thinking is open. Like, I accept.
Absolutely.
I accept an. You know, it's kind of rough to say this because of my family's background, but I accept an open-minded Muslim 1,000 times more than I'm prepared to accept somebody who's a hardcore Christian, because I know I'm gonna relate with that person more when we're in a state where you got Donald Trump talking about halting any refugees from coming into
Muslims even using an entire religion.
Not not even.
It's like your sister's TED Talks. She was recently. I just watched it. It came out the other day.
Shout out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of like what her whole thing was on. Like about
Being a Muslim in America.
Asking somebody your name and getting to know somebody as opposed to
That's because that's the quickest way to their story.
Yeah.
That's the most honest way to their story. You know what I mean? One amazing thing that she made a point was like the vulnerability. She says anybody can get on the stage and they can be strong, and the people who are sitting in the audience might not necessarily be able to relate with that strength. But the moment that person up there says, I've fallen and I've felt weakness and I've been hurt and I've been cheated on and I've felt, all of these things, and they open up that vulnerability. Dude, you open up a whole new pathway where your story is truthfully interpreted. Because now, bro, it's just like we're all fucking broken. We're all standing here and we're all broken. Nobody is perfect. Nobody is without blood and without the stains of money and interest and betrayal on their hands. And every man is haunted by his demons every single day. Let's recognize that right here, right now, and be vulnerable and broken together. It's one thing for Arnold Schwarzenegger to get up on the pulpit, and you're like, I can't relate with those muscles. But if he was just like, straight up like, I had fears, and I had, the fear of, with his immigration thing, or, when he became governor, then you're just like, wow, like this dude's a human being. And dude, that's the number one way I feel that we can really, because you were saying earlier, like, how are we going to figure out this problem in Syria, blah, blah. Well, dude, what's the root of all evil? People say it's money. People say that it's power. People say that, it's all these things. Well, dude, we've seen righteous kings or wicked kings pass away, and righteous kings take their wealth and do great things with it. And we've seen kings who have been absolutely despicable, and then and then the position will be filled by someone great. So really, what is it? It's not wealth, and it's not power. It's arrogance. Arrogance is the cause of all evil and the root of all evil, because what arrogance does is it stops you from recognizing the issue. When you're arrogant, you cannot begin the initiation of apology or healing or moving forward at all, because you're saying, I'm too good for this. I'm not going to even have this discussion with you. And you're even going to look at them, you're going to say, I'm more entitled to the air and to the fucking argon molecules that are floating in the air than you are. And you can't get anywhere with that. Yeah. Because if that was the relationship between the sun and photosynthesis and plants, then dude, we'd all be fucked. There's a humble process.
Everybody needs to definitely go check out that your sister's TED Talks, bro.
Straight up, man.
What is it called?
It's
a Muslim on an airplane. Isn't that what it's called? Or where can you find it?
So if you put Amal Kassir, A-M-A-L, Kassir, K-A-S-S-I-R on YouTube, most likely it'll pop up. Even put the TED Talk thing. I don't know the exact, because it's been shared so many times.
Something like that, but it's called
that's what I found
on the airplane.
We'll try to put a link.
Muslim on a plane or something.
Yeah,
maybe we'll
motherfucking Muslims off this motherfucking plane.
Make sure you guys go watch that. It's really, really dope.
The thing I'm thinking is like, who's going to be the most arrogant? The person who gains power overnight, or the person who works their entire life to develop a sense of stability?
Overnight.
Maybe
it's overnight,
maybe.
And that's what I feel like the United States is. Like, when we look at arrogance, we're such a young country, but now we're the buff.
It's
we're
the young
muscles.
kid hanging around the old grandpas saying, you've been doing this wrong the whole fucking
that's
time.
Who we are as a country. And I definitely fuck with the idea of why we're here, the American dream, all of that. But the American dream should not be limited to
the American dream should include the world in it.
Because America wouldn't be America.
It takes the world to make America. Half our shit is made in China.
South Americans, like everything.
For real.
It's
you know what I mean?
You
know, and I thought about that. I was just like, when somebody is arrogant, you literally put a block on any progress. And you can't be fluid. You are rigid and you are blocked.
Right.
You know,
Most of these guys
humility.
that don't want Muslim immigrants to come into the country have never met a Muslim in their life. Most
Yeah.
of the people that are
Oh,
racist
shout out.
towards black
That's gotta
people
Hey, you
have
know
never
what?
met a black person in their
Which
life.
is exactly why I fuck with racists. Let me qualify this. Hold up.
That's gonna be a soundbite.
I've met some.
Right.
I've met some fucking
Exactly why I
people.
fuck racist.
I've met some fucking people who were outwardly racist that I had a conversation with, and I spent that night hanging out, having beers with, and made, I don't want to say lifelong friends, but
New understanding.
yeah. So my homeboy Joel, his dad passed away. He asked us to perform in Colorado Springs at a biker bar. We show up there. It's me, my homeboy Silky, Chilla, who's
Silky was there?
Silky was there.
Okay.
Chilla, who's big and black,
Silky.
and Pat, who looks black and Korean. But we all showed up to the spot. We're hanging out. This biker dude turns around, taps us on the back, and he's like, "Hey, what are you guys doing here?" I said, "Yeah, we're about to perform." Like, my homeboy's dad passed away, and he's like, "Oh, Joe? Okay, cool." Went back to drinking. 5 minutes later, tapped me on the back, or tapped my homeboy Pat. He's like, "Hey, you guys gonna be performing? What kind of music?" Pat said, "A little hip hop." "I hope you're not doing none of that nigger music." And Pat said, "Ignorant music? Nah, we're not doing none of that cracker shit either." And this dude said, "Well, okay then." Reached out his hand, shook his hand, because he knew he met somebody as arrogant or fucking,
That's right.
offstanding as him, and he's like, "Okay, we're on the same level." This dude waited for us to perform. 2 songs into our set, the mic shorted out, and I was just like, fuck it. Like, we've been here too long. We're fucked up. He's all, "No, I didn't stay around to not hear y'all spit your raps." And I was like, "Cool." Swear to God. Hey, swear to God, they got the soundboard up and running again. We rapped. He was the one dude standing up clapping for us off beat. And then they did a raffle for tickets. He won.
They did a raffle?
A raffle. He won a wing party, which was 2 pitchers of beer and like 50 wings. And he gave it back to us. So we drank and ate on this dude. No homo.
Excuse me.
No homo. But yeah, for real. Like, this was a dude who was not scared to be blatantly racist to us. You're not doing none of that.
But he wasn't
That's
scared to be blatantly humble when he was put in his spot.
A blatant racist is going to put that out
racist
there.
is better than somebody who's just a closet racist.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's
Hey,
totally-
KKK, take your fucking hoods off. See me in the streets. And maybe we can have a cup of
Great
coffee.
conversation.
A
Yeah.
cup of coffee. And if you're still a bitch, I'm still going to hit you.
But isn't
Somebody
that
that's a closeted racist, you're never gonna be able to have that conversation.
Nah,
Because you know-
they're on fucking Twitter banging, bro. Like,
Yeah, dog.
Michelle
They started
Obama
out
is a
on- they started out
goddamn
on Halo
monkey.
1.
right? Like
with the
straight up,
with them holding a fish.
no
or something.
shame.
Yeah.
No shame.
Yeah, but I like somebody who's willing to put themselves out there and give me a chance to change them.
But
If it's
yeah, what I've come to see about racism, the funny thing is that there, like you were saying, there's this element of, being closeted about it. There's this cowardice element of
they're like roaches.
But now, bro, as we were saying with Donald Trump earlier, it's just like you kind of give a bravery to it. You know what I mean? And that's the last thing that the world needs is like a brave, stupid idiot. Ignorant idiot, you know what I mean? Who's brave and confident in all his
What
ways. That's
somebody
the
said
worst
is that
type of
they've
thing.
been validated.
You know?
Like, all these people that
Exactly,
have been
like,
sitting-
I
They're just
told
sitting
you.
back like,
They've been
you don't
validated
date a
on a
black guy.
national
Donald
level.
Trump comes around and they're
Verified.
verified
like,
in these
certified.
streets.
They got that check. Damn.
He just, when somebody gets that check, like,
Yeah.
no, I'm verified in
Yep.
the streets.
Right.
Hey,
That's how they feel.
You know what's
Yeah.
crazy to me is watching the BLM movement,
Yeah.
like seeing a video of that and seeing how many different races of people are just there supporting. It's like, how do you call this something anti-positive? Like, you're bringing blacks, whites, Mexicans, Asians, Native Americans together. Like, they're just fighting for a single cause. And I want that same type of energy to reciprocate to the Syria issue. The fucking, if it's a young white kid who gets gunned down the street by a bitch ass cop,
It's still
I
just
don't want
tragic.
I don't want it to be fucking all white people showing up. I want it to be people saying this cop was wrong. Like, I don't want anybody creating
we have to stop
between
against
us.
injustice, and that's that.
Yeah,
We
period.
should be disgusted at injustice, not when injustice is done to a certain demographic of people. It's
Exactly.
like when it is done, that should have been the red line, not who it was done to should have been the red line.
When I was walking through the rally for the Trump presidential elect,
You walked through that?
I did.
Brave.
You're still here.
I am
Just
still
tell
here.
your story.
I
Go
have
ahead.
some phenomenal shots, but I remember walking through the streets, and first they were walking around screaming, "Not my president." But at some point, somebody came out with their megaphone, and we literally went through almost every race in the Black Lives Matter, Hispanic Lives Matter. And I stopped and I thought to myself, why are we not saying all lives matter? We are putting an actual stigma
But it depends
on
on who is bringing
Here's-
that narrative.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when
So
there's
I
a white dude
definitely
who's
have
saying
something
it
to
to a
speak
black
on
dude that
all
just
lives
got gunned
matter.
down,
Yeah,
it's
me too.
different.
I absolutely believe all
But I
lives
get
matter.
the white privilege
But it
part
can't
too.
be
It's
said
not-
by
it's
a-
not-
To entitle them.
No. It's not a white privilege thing.
Okay.
It's just the idea that like, if breast cancer went spiraling out of control, we would pay focus to breast cancer. We wouldn't say all cancer matters.
We would say this.
And
this
Black
matters
Lives
right
Matter. You know, I'm not going to necessarily speak up and say statistically like that's the number across the board, but at some point, black people started feeling like black lives didn't matter, and they wanted to reach to their white friend, their Mexican friend,
Or
their
their
black community,
children.
and just say, get behind this.
And I
Let's
think-
do this for us. If you got a problem, if you got an issue where you're being treated badly, I'm coming forward and I'm going to say,
It is-
gray sweatshirts matter because you're wearing that and they're fucking shooting at you. I'm gonna reach out and say backwards hat matter.
Nice beards, man.
You know, whatever it is. If y'all are getting unfairly
beards matter.
targeted,
Beards matter.
we're there to support you. Support us.
Except the ones with the handlebars. It's just cool.
What I think,
That's
what
how I feel.
but don't you think?
I
though-
want to hear a little Zach.
I
I
fuck
see
with
Zach.
that.
I see
fuck
Zach
with
brewing.
that. I fuck with that. I feel the same way because it's like, yeah, it's like, why is that so offensive? And that comedian Michael Che, I heard he had a dope little line about it. He was just saying like, we're just saying they matter. Like, what's the like? It's not like we're like that's
Why
where
are
it
you so
starts.
mad?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where it starts. Like we're saying, literally saying, not everyone doesn't matter, just that
We
we
do.
matter.
Right.
You know, and but everyone
You have to put
you
that
want to take it a
emphasis.
certain way, but it's like, yeah, think about it. If everyone gets behind this, because it's like you just have a brother, because we're all humans. So
Yeah.
black, white, Asian, it doesn't matter. That's your brother, right? That's another human being in pain, and he's saying he's in pain, but everyone's just not paying attention to that. Instead of everybody rushing
And
to
I
him
think-
and being like, "Yo, this guy needs help." That's just
Straight
what
up.
one
Right.
race of people right now just seems to be saying.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, "Oh, well, that's not fair," or whatever. And it's just like,
You want help more than
no,
I do? Well,
let's start
we're
a
shot,
conversation.
bro.
Yeah, like this is just you hear them speaking up.
Yeah.
Well, it's like
Okay,
going
let's
to a
address it.
doctor
Let's
with a
talk about it.
broken
Let's-
bone and being like, "This bone's broken," and this one matters. He's like, "All bones matter." You're like, "Yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
this one for now it's broken.
Exactly.
It needs attention.
Bro,
Give
dude,
this
do you
one
know how
attention
much-
because it matters
Do
more."
you know how much connection Black Lives Matter has brought? Like people who are naturally racist on the black side or on the minority side, who's got white people marching right next to him,
It's opening them up.
willing to fucking take a pepper ball to the face, like get tear gassed, is gonna reach towards that person and say, "Hey, what do you need? I got you." If they see him in the street 2 years down the road and they went through it together, they're gonna take care of him. Like I just don't understand how we look at that as a awkward or negative
Well,
movement.
I think
we're trying to head
by
to.
saying Black Lives Matter, you in default are saying all lives matter, especially in a country like America that holds such a high standard for human rights. All you're saying is, I just want to be included in what you're saying is the standard that all of us
If
are
a different race
entitled
person
to.
says it, if a black person
You know?
says it, then the other people view them as.
Well, think how would that narrative
You know what
be
I mean?
taken by the invading white man? If he would have heard the Native Americans say, like, no, like, our skin tone matters, they would have been like, fuck that. You know what
Well,
I mean? Like,
in those days, yeah, absolutely. But
know-
we're our youth right now is too smart, but too dumb. They're too smart to know that it's not wrong, but they're too dumb to really go out and do something about it.
because we're
They
distracted
haven't
with shit.
realized
It's
that activism is about what you do,
they're
not-
online going like
And listening to Little Yachty and stuff like that.
So much that we have to keep up with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
From your day to day, you got work.
And you're just
everything is nuts.
And you're so exposed to all the bad in the world.
Totally.
It's like you go on Facebook and you scroll and it's like, man knocks out 6-year-old. Cool. You're like, well, fuck, this
Dude
world
kicks
sucks.
woman downstairs
yeah.
for no reason. You're like, what? Why? The senseless violence.
I'm
Man.
gonna watch that. That's fucked up. I gotta say something about it.
Yeah.
Then you go to Syria and you're like, okay, well, this is fucked up too. And then that's all you've done for an old woman getting knocked out and a fucking revolution going on in Syria. And then you hit that same like button for a new Little Yachty song. Like,
Right, exactly.
that's your contribution to the
imagine
revolution.
what that does to your heart, though, and your soul. Seriously, on a whole nother level. When you're scrolling and you see like literally a child who's crushed under the rubble of Syria, and it hurts your heart. But then within that same second, you're already scrolling to something, and it's completely irrelevant. Like, dude, it's gotta have some spiritual repercussion,
like
some deep shit inside.
Or it could be like a I don't know, like girls like a little, like a kitten or a puppy video or some shit like that.
Some
like
mentally
No, but how crazy is that to go from one post and just right below it, your emotions
and dude, you're
change.
desensitizing
Have
yourself.
been just trained to
switch it on and off, and
That's
it's
the danger
literally
of Facebook,
like
man.
back in the day, you probably would have been stuck on that first post for hours.
You'd read
and
the
days
article.
and
You'd
We would
read
have
the entire
conversations
article.
with the
Yeah.
community
You're
about
like,
it.
yo,
This is
have you
some
seen
fucked up
this?
shit.
I really think it's comes back to ego, whether it's race, whether it's culture, cultural differences, whatever it may be. Everyone has so much of an ego, and they think they're right. Their side is right. No matter what they are is right, and
Race,
that's what's
religion,
wrong. Whether
all
it's
of it.
race, religion, whatever. Like for me personally, I don't care what color you are. If we're on the same level, we can be boys. I don't care if you go to church and I don't go to church, or it doesn't matter.
That's
if we're on the
way
same
better.
level, we can be boys. Like race, whatever. None of that. For me personally, I don't care anything about all the other stuff going on. If we're on the same level creatively, musically, podcast-wise, shoes, we enjoy the same shit,
And
we can hang it and we have a vibe, great. I
feel
don't
like it's not
need
even-
us to both be Catholics or Christians or Muslims
Right.
or
That's such a
anything
weird thing.
brown or white.
Franchise.
Right, exactly. If we don't have that in common, cool. We don't ever talk about that. Like I don't talk politics with any of my friends, really. You know what I mean? Like we just don't. That's not the kind of friends we are.
That's probably the
Race, politics, we don't-
little bit of that. I mean, that is part of the fortunate side of being born here. You know what I mean?
You get
don't
exposed to everything.
Yeah, you get exposed to. So it's not. It's kind of racism in certain parts of the country, at least especially major cities. It's a little bit weird. It's like, you know. But if you grow up maybe in a country where it's literally separated by just two religions or something
Right.
like that, you know what I mean? Like,
Or if you look at it,
you're gonna grow up hating that
the
person.
privilege that we
'cause
don't
you
even
have to.
realize we have in this nation is what's called opting out. It's the ability to plug into something and then to plug right out of it without any effect
Right.
on
Jesus.
anything or any
No
repercussion.
emotion.
And in America, no matter how good or bad it is, a lot of us, I mean, dude, we can plug into an issue, be like, oh, that sucks, and then plug right out and go fucking log into Netflix. And just that in itself makes us elitists in the rest of the world. Because in the end, the lowest of the lowest here are going to be looked at as like kings in the rest of the world. Now look at their status. You know, half of the world is being just demolished. We don't recognize that, dude. The entire Middle East is just being fucking demolished at this point. And then Dubai, which I'm going to in 2 weeks, which I'm just like, I don't know how I'm going to deal with this.
No,
You know,
that's-
you have to use that as like, is this the standard of Arab success? Is this the standard of what Arab pride has brought us as this beautiful oasis? Or shouldn't we be more ashamed of literally what just happened to Aleppo last week, the massacre that just happened? So my grandmother, who went from Damascus and lived 3-4 years into this war, now is in Dubai. That's the only reason I would ever go to that fucking city, is to visit her.
Let's go back real quick. Let me just stop you right there, because we had originally started talking about your family, and then your dad's he's from Damascus, right? That's where your dad's side of the
Originally,
family's
yeah.
from. And then you were born here,
And
right?
I was born here.
You lived there for a little bit.
Yeah.
How far in regards to like what's going on right now in Syria is
Fill
Damascus?
people in on what's going on, because I don't think a lot of people know. I mean, there's probably a lot of people listening that don't really know what's going on. Like you said, they're not plugged in. I mean, that's a good way to put it. They're not plugged into what's
How
going on
close
over
is
there.
Damascus?
They don't
I mean,
have
that's
family and friends over there.
the number one
Attention.
thing that makes it so difficult to have this conversation with a lot of people is the fact that they're not educated. So when they come to you and they're just like, why is the Middle East torn up and why are you crazy Muslim fanatics like this? They don't even know the context of, oh, did you know that there's a 50-year dictatorship that was instilled there by many world governments, and one of them is your government? And what they did is they instilled the legacy of this authoritarian government rule, like literally 50 years of a dictatorship, you're not going to have a moderate environment. You're going to have an extreme environment where people have extreme ideologies and extreme approaches to executing some of those ideologies. It's not everyone's just dancing in the tulips and everything is fine. Like, no, you got a dictator. There's no freedom of speech. Your economy is compromised by these people constantly.
Right.
You know, so that's...
So who is the dictator?
It's the Assad family.
Okay.
So I know it sounds crazy and like mafioso, but straight up, like, when the French withdrew their forces in Syria in the early 1900s, there was a guy named Suleiman al-Assad who came in, and he was like a collaborator. And he was just like, I will work, he'll work with the French and they'll establish a government, and through this government, they're going to give the Arabs their pride back. Somehow the French are going to give the Arabs their pride back. You know, so that's where the family's first, you know, is first mentioned, is like right after the French withdrew. There was this family called the Assad family that were known as collaborators who had worked with the French, who were given power in return. And this is today, in 2016, the Assad family that's ruling today. So after 54 years, since whenever the French, you know what I mean, left, till this present day, that same family has been in, and dude, it's a kleptocracy, meaning that they endorse every type of form of fraud. You know what I mean?
Stealing.
You know, exactly, stealing. So what they'll do, this is the most ridiculous fucking thing. You know, Syria, I mean, dude, Syria is like, to give you a little history on it. You know, history is, I know, it's a sexy word, man.
Yeah.
I mean, Syria is one of the most ancient places in the world. So you have thousands of avenues and practices of an ancient tradition in this huge scattered area. Christian, Muslim, Jew, and everything in between. So it's not just these Abrahamic faiths. There's fire worshippers and star worshippers, and there's all kinds of crazy religions, you know, that are even mentioned in the Quran. You know, so it comes from a diverse background.
Did you say Star Wars hipsters?
I don't know. Did I say Star Wars?
Star worshippers.
Star worshippers. Star Wars hipsters. They are too included.
With like the Darth Vader vans and Stormtrooper vans.
Sorry, play on words. I apologize.
So
I was just feeling myself.
God damn it, Johnny.
So just like, you know, many other, you know, very early countries, is like, you know, you got the grassroots farmers who are working, and, you know, the people who are connected to the land, and, you know, they have kids, and then those kids eventually, you know, you want to give them a better opportunity, and they move to the cities. I mean, that's how it worked most of the time. But in the end, dude, when you have the big shadow of just that tyranny and that authoritarian figure that can snatch your kids away any moment, dude, if you listen to Pink Floyd's album, The Wall, I mean, the whole thing, man, you know, from songs like Mother, Should I Trust the Government? Mother, Will They Like This Song? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it kind of has that very Orwellian feeling to it. But you gotta remember, dude, Syria is one of the most ancient historical places on the earth. So this guy, Assad, thinks like, I am the king and president of Syria. It's like, dude, no. Like, you are a dust particle in the actual continuum of what Syria is. You're so small on this scale, but you've done so much damage to the entire country in 6 years. That's where most humans have the most difficulty wrapping their mind around it. How did you do this to your country? How did you do this to a country that was known as the longest timeline before any of us, before Babylon?
Yeah, for real.
Before Mesopotamia,
it
was there. You know what I mean? And now within 6 years, within, you know, the time of a bowel movement, you've eliminated 60%.
A 6 year.
You know what I mean? Seriously, if you put it on a relative timeline, it's probably
that's unfortunate.
Okay. All right,
the world's worst turd.
When we were talking about, like, you know, how, you know, America is this new, young, vibrant, you know, like
arrogant, cocky.
Well, imagine this is like the Middle East are like these old guys. The Middle East and China and a lot of the European, like, imagine they're these old timers sitting at a table, and then you just get this young dude in a sharp suit being like, "You've been doing it wrong. You've been doing it wrong. Let me show you how to do it." And then they show you some magic in front of them, and they're whipping up this magic. But dude, eventually that magic, which, whether it was the Industrial Revolution or capitalism or whatever, dude, eventually starts spinning out of fucking control, starts shitting on everybody around them, dude.
They're like, yeah, we've been through this.
What is going on right now?
6 year shit coming back. So what exactly is going on right now out there? Like,
So this all started when the people were like, okay, 50 years of this authoritarian government, we're gonna stand up against it. But you don't just get that bravery overnight.
Right,
Something has to happen. And what happened was on March 11th, 2011, this year is going to be the 7th year anniversary, 7 years, is when a young boy named Hamza al-Khatib took a spray paint can and went to a wall, just like any other wall, in Syria, in Idlib, I think. And he wrote, Jai dorak ya doctor. Your turn is coming, O doctor.
Oh, you didn't have to tell us. We knew.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I knew.
We knew what it was. Yeah, but
Yeah,
for the listeners,
Jai dorak ya doctor, which means like your turn is coming, O doctor, because the current president of Syria is actually an ophthalmologist. Before he was president, he was an eye doctor. So they refer to him as doctor before they refer to him as, the president. So they'd be like, Dr. Bashar al-Assad. So this kid just went with the balls to just say, your turn's coming, doctor. And this is when that shit happened in Egypt and in Algeria and in Tunisia and all of those. Literally, the Arab Spring is boom, boom, boom. And these people are watching the domino effect of the Middle East. And they're just saying, all right, it's coming to Syria. It's about to come to Syria. This kid wrote that, bro, and then 2 of the secret police called mukhabarat. And when I mean secret police, I mean literally dudes that don't wear clothes, that are or they wear ununiformed clothes, and they just chill with you, and they tag along with you. So they kidnapped this kid who wrote this on the wall, and dude, for like 2 or 3 days, I mean, you can go on YouTube. I don't recommend that you go and see the video, but they themselves videotaped them torturing this kid, and I'm talking. I mean, dude, they shot him. Called? They shot him in the knees. They burned him with cigars. Then they cut his entire body in half, wrapped him in cellophane, and dropped his body off in front of his parents' house with a note stapled to his chest, saying, "If you think your son can voice his freedom, the regime will show you otherwise."
Jesus.
Fuck.
And this is a young boy, and dude, this hadn't happened in years. This had not happened in years.
Have any connection to what that feels like? Like where you're from, Trav, Zach. Like, we grew up in a place where we didn't see this type of violence. This type of shit was natural.
Your government did this to you. Can you imagine that? Police officer, Denver Police Department just dropped off your son, cut in half.
I was going to say the government, not the government, but the mafia.
Yeah.
Well, that's how they recognize themselves.
Stuff like that.
Fuck.
So, dude, that pain, and you got to realize, dude, you're not fucking with extremely wealthy, influential, powerful people. You're fucking with people who are barely making 100 lira, which is $2 a day, barely making $2 a day, and you're taking their livelihood and you're mutilating it and saying, here you go. If you ever try to use your voice, this is what happens to your children. And bro, for the first time, people were like, this is unacceptable. They took that body, the next day was Friday, and they took it to the mosque and they just left it there, bro. They're like, we can't give him a proper funeral until all of the town sees this boy's body. Bro, huge cigar holes in his chest. You know what I mean? They cut off his penis. I'm talking about a 13-year-old boy, bro. Beautiful young child. When you looked at him, dude, like a kid that if you kicked the soccer ball to him, he'd kick it right back. That's how human it is. Your son, no different than that. And the people were like, they left the body there, and eventually most of the town who go out for the market, go out for buying stuff, and go out, for the worship on Friday, just saw this body, and we're just like, we live in the country that our government does this to us. They're like, no more. They started plans for a protest. This is before Twitter was a thing. This was before Facebook was a huge thing over there. Nobody knew what any of that stuff was. They were just like, all right, on the minbar. The minbar is the long minaret that mosques have. And they're just like, tomorrow, protest. Or mudahara, which means like, how would you even say mudahara? Just like something that makes the world know that you're there. And in this case, it would have been the regime knowing that you're there. So dude, they just, 5 or 6 families had the balls to lead it. And it was one of the families was the father of Hamza al-Khatib, the kid who got killed. This is where the violence, there is no gap between the violent acts that the regime does. That first protest is met with live ammunition. No tear gas, no SWAT team.
Yeah.
That's a mercy in this country. To have a SWAT team here, or I'm sorry, like riot police, that's a mercy. To even have men who will engage you with a shield over there, bro, they're just over the hill just shooting civilians down. Civilians. The people who are fucking baking your bread and driving your ambulances, you just gunned down, and then you're gonna go hang your gun up and then go back out there and be with your people. Think about this, man. My sister wrote a poem about this boy Hamza al-Khatib, and I it was almost like a revelation. I was like, the day that happened, when that sun set behind the mountains, Syria was different forever. Because the next day, when that sun rose upon that mountain, a revolution was in the air. And from that moment until this moment that I speak to you, dude, people have been getting murked and massacred and killed.
6 years ago.
6 years ago.
We can't say that that's ever happened in our lifetime. A sunset in life was different.
It changed
Like,
everything.
not for me personally,
for the
no.
country.
No, me either.
Like we were talking about with Donald Trump, like our lives, we don't feel
I mean,
like...
maybe 9/11 was probably
9/11
the
is what I was
closest
gonna
to...
say.
No, but I mean,
Maybe for
Maybe
people
on
in
a
New York,
personal
like,
level.
yeah, in New
there are
York, in New
definitely-
York, I get it.
Yeah, whoever.
But
was
I
closest.
watched and was just like, what am I watching? Am I watching the after effects of some shit we've been pulling off for years, like revenge on America, or like what am I watching? It didn't feel like a personal attack on who
How
I am.
old were you at the time?
19.
Okay.
No. Oh, at the time, yeah, I was.
Of
Yeah,
9/11.
I'm 33 now.
You were 19.
2001 happened. I was 18.
So you were the same age as me.
Yeah.
I remember that day very well.
I woke up at like 4 p.m.
I was
in my
still awake.
dorm. Had no idea what was going on. I saw people just running.
Where were you, here in Denver?
I was up at CSU in Fort Collins, and people were just moving around like frantic. And I woke up like, shit seems weird.
4 p.m.
I was still
I
awake.
got hammered.
What does that even
Towers
mean?
were already
I got
long
fucking
gone at that
hammered the night
point.
before.
You're such
I was
a
just making sure I heard that
19.
correctly.
He was
like,
19, okay?
And I woke up at like 3 or 4 p.m.
No, on here.
and I got a
4
phone call.
p.m.
My mom's like, "Hey, are you okay? Or like, is everything cool there?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"I don't know why." She's like,
What
"Have
does
you
that
turned on
even
the TV?" And it's
Every
like 3 or
channel.
4 p.m.
Even
I should have been
MTV.
TV. And I was
Jesus,
like,
Johnny.
I turned on the TV and I was like, "Holy shit! Shit's not about to be good around here."
Yeah.
Like I went to school.
They
I saw the
evacuated
Muslims.
our school.
Because
They
of
sent
you.
us home.
Were you there?
there.
Yeah, I was there.
Bro,
I was young. I
Islamic
didn't
school, they
really
stopped
remember
it.
a lot, but they were like, just in case, there's some kind of threat.
Because we
to the
got bomb
school.
threats that day. How oxymoronic is that? That's the most, I can't even comprehend. It's like a Muslim elementary school got bomb threats.
Wait, it was all
from
Muslim?
random companies
private
and
school.
people and parties and whatsoever.
What a
Towards
fucking-
us on September 11th, being like, "You guys are terrorists. We're gonna blow up your little fucking school." It's like, you know what? Call the fucking shitty dude who owns the supermarket who rips me off fucking every week.
Hey,
Blow his
shout-
floor up.
but shout out-
Fucking blow
Shout
up
out to
the
both
fucking.
of you guys for going through some real shit that I've never been through, and being that open-minded to like have the friends you have the fucking
Jobs you have.
the perspective
yeah.
you have
Yeah.
of just peace. Like if it was me and I went through that, I think there's a part of me that would just want revenge. Like fuck you guys. Like
But you gotta think, like, I was born. Were you born in America? I was born here.
I know you were,
Like,
but you got targeted because of the way you looked or your background. Like, that's the worst thing in the world. I would want to
You
fuck
got
somebody
targeted
up.
by association.
But I relate more to people here than I do when I go back to my home.
I was just gonna say, there's this
They
kind
look
of
at me and
eerie
they're like,
blessing
"This guy's
that comes with.
American.
Guys, I'm mad
Who
again.
mans is this?
Whose man's is this? For real.
No, but there is that eerie kind of counter blessing that you feel. You're just like, with the damage happened here and the healing is gonna take place here. You know what I mean? Although, at least for the Muslims, the American Muslims that lived in this nation, it was just like, what do you want? We've been here, we're paying our taxes. But it's just like, it's funny, the very places that you think extremism is happening, those are the places that undo extremism. Because if a crazy brother walked in saying crazy things, you better be damn sure there would be a
20
brother who would
people that
either
are
call the
gonna be there
FBI
to
or be like, yo, like, you sure you're reading the same book as us? Because our book says
Right.
out of 113 out of the 114 14 verses, God introduces himself as the God of mercy and compassion. You know what I mean? And understanding and justice. So it's just like, what book are you reading?
Let me ask you, what creates that huge wall of misunderstanding from what Muslims truly are, the loving, peaceful, dedicated, like, spiritual people they are? Yeah, like, I don't get it, because every single Muslim that I've ever
I agree.
encountered
I wanted
has
the
just
same
been
thing.
super peaceful, super... Where is that disconnect of
I'll
what
tell you
people
where.
think about Muslims?
I'll tell you where, and it's said by Malcolm X.
All Muslims.
If you're not careful, the newspaper will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppressing. Malcolm X.
Jesus. Preach. That's a dope quote.
And that's kind of what I've come to understand is down to our Disney movies, we have even the most subliminal and subtle elements of racism and Scar and just all of that, which is saying like the rest of the world is a scary place. They have big ugly noses and they'll never fucking understand you, and they throw their shit all over the place. And here in America, we stay in our line and everything is perfect and we have elections. So stay in those lines. Bro, someone else is painting the enemy. You know, and after September 11th, when you repeatedly keep saying weapons of mass destruction, Al-Qaeda, militant forces over and over and over, then the American people who all they're seeing is, they're not actually seeing the war, but they're just hearing stats and they're seeing blown up military vehicles here and there, and then it's coming back and they're just like, I guess we're winning and I guess we're on the valiant side. Like, what an injustice that you could do to those people. You know, man, it's like I saw online, it was like, you know, how is ISIS any more Islamic than the KKK is Christian?
It's Christian, yeah. That's been my
and I've met Christians who would be like, I mean, Tone, for example, is an amazing example of a good, religious, noble Christian dude. You know what I mean, dude? I'm like, he wouldn't stand for that shit.
He's a black man.
You know what I mean?
This nigga's is not repping the goddamn KKK. but on the other side of that, like, I know plenty of great white Christians who would never do KKK, never fuck with them, will call them the extremist group of their religion.
You know, and the foundation of their religion, extremist Christian, extremist Muslim is such a oxymoron. It's like there's no such thing
as one guy said, he says the moment that you have a violent need to express your anger, he says you're abandoning the tenets that religion comes to solve. You know, he's like, you're abandoning patience and the virtues of understanding and the virtues of justice. He says for that one moment where you can explode and just say that you're justified.
That's a really good way to put it. I've never heard it really put down like that. Everything about that's good.
Every single thing.
No, especially, you know, just being on the outside. Like, I'm being on the outside and hearing it. You see so many different things, but you don't oftentimes get to step in, not necessarily step into those shoes, but you don't get to have it open.
First perspective.
Yeah, exactly. You know, Yep. And
people should have this conversation every single day. If you have something that scares you or brings you fear or you don't understand, like, why don't you open up that dialogue to get an understanding and maybe see their perspective?
I remember a statement he made at the beginning of this podcast where he said he doesn't talk about religion or politics.
This is my dude.
This is the general standard rule that we have in America when you walk into somewhere to meet something is you don't talk about those things. Yeah. Maybe that's part of the problem.
And those aren't my interests either.
Because you can't understand something.
So I'm not...
Or gain a perspective on somebody's thoughts or intentions if you don't know those very, very fundamental moral guiding things.
It was an Israeli guy who came into the restaurant. It was the first Israeli guy I'd ever met in my life. And I was just like, oh my God, an Israeli guy. I've heard so much about you. And he came into the restaurant and he looked like a white dude. And he came and he took the bite out of the falafel sandwich and he was just like, man, this tastes like it's from back home and this is great. And I'm like, where the hell's back home for you? Texas? He's just like, no, Israel. And I was just like, my heart was just like everything I'd ever seen on Palestinian television, every rock that I was ever thrown, every tank that I ever rumbled through, any neighborhood. It was just like I felt it in that moment. And I was just like, I didn't express it. I was just like, oh, Israeli, huh? And he's just like, where are you from? I'm like, I'm from Syria. And then I caught myself like arming myself with like all of these, like this dude's, let's talk about the settlements and the human shields and the blah, blah, blah and all this stuff. In the end, I just saw this dude who like literally like couldn't contain his love for the sandwich because it reminded him of his country. And then
that's powerful.
In that moment, I stood back. I was just like, what kind of a fucking animal have I become that like this dude literally has come for food and that is it. He hasn't even opened up the discussion. He's only said, I am Israeli and here I am. I've already declared war in my chest and all my culture and all of the pain and everything. And we struck up the conversation. He was just like, yeah, man. He's like, I had to do the IDF thing and it broke my heart. And he's just like, right now, he's like, I'm doing a lot of music and a lot of albums to basically help me deal with a lot of the things I had to deal with in the IDF. And I'm like, man, that's amazing. And I was like, you know,
same kind of thing. The 2 year when you turn 18, you have to go for 2 years.
Yeah, it's mandatory military in
IDF.
Israel too. You know. So we had a conversation for almost an hour, and I was so enlightened. And I said, you know what, man? Let's make a point that wherever we go in the world, if we never see each other after this, we'll always be friends. That you'll always know that you made peace with me and I made peace with you, despite our cultures and our religions and all of the politics. That me and you made peace, and we can live with that. Maybe that'll help us, you know, in a positive way. He said, oh, he says, absolutely. And I hugged him, and he left. We switched numbers and everything. Next day he comes, and he's just like, man, you know what's crazy? As I was leaving your restaurant, he's like, I called my dad in Israel. Just because it's routine, I call him after work. And he was just like, I was asking him how he was doing, and he asked me how I was doing. I was just like, everything is great. And he's like, went to this restaurant, and the best falafel. It tastes like, you know, mom made it. He's like, the Syrian guy owns it. He's Muslim and everything. And his dad straight up was just like, don't trust these people. You don't know who they are. You can be close to them just in that interaction, but don't be close to them in any other way. And I looked at him, and I was just like, you're not gonna fucking believe this. I said, yesterday, after I shut down the restaurant, I went home and I saw my dad, and I said, Dad, today I met the most amazing Israeli dude. He came in and he loved this sandwich and everything, and my dad straight up said, son, you cannot trust these people. Don't get too close. Aside from that transaction, it shouldn't be more than that. And I was just like, I have to get your dad on the phone, and I have to get my dad on the phone, and we got to get these motherfuckers on the phone together.
That old generation, they're just.
And that's current times. It's like internet and everything.
That's the same thing here. Just the same, like,
out there in the world.
Older people. I feel like a lot of the younger people in our generation don't see as much culture, as much race, whatever. But the same thing, the older people are the same exact way.
Right.
Here with race,
but you know what?
It's
like these two guys didn't even. My dad and that guy will probably never meet each other. Probably never even been in the same fucking time zone, other than this moment. But they have come with this baggage and this pain and this hatred, and they're just not even gonna dump it on that person directly. It's just like, here, my son, take it, and you take that weapon and you go fight them with it now, because I'm sick of this shit. And it was just like, to see that on both ends, I'm just like, you know, dude, maybe that's really why there will never be peace. It's because as long as we raise our children to say their children mean nothing, and when their children are collateral damage, you celebrate. Both sides say that. Wallahi, I've heard both sides say that. Although the conflict in reality is not balanced, and it does swing towards the favor of the Israelis, when children are used as an excuse to annihilate or disintegrate or disenfranchise the people, stop everything. Stop everything. Those are our babies.
Is it, as far as what's going on in Syria, how far is where you guys are from, where your family's from?
I mean, dude, we are in the belly of the beast.
Really?
Belly of the beast. Just yesterday, I saw a post from, he's a Kassir. He's a member of my family, but he's like a cousin. He's an extension of my cousin's family. But to just see his post in Arabic being like, as I'm typing this, there's warplanes flying over the city. And dude, Russian warplanes too. And you're like, who's killing us? Someone far away signed a pen, and now I got Russian military flying over my farm.
Right, for what?
Like,
Well,
how do you
Russia
understand that shit? You know, so bro, like, we're in the belly of the beast straight up. You know, and I'll share with you guys one of the podcast links that I did. It was actually more of like a live video one, and I did it the day. Do you remember that day that I found out at work that my aunt's house got hit by that missile?
Yes.
And
Yeah,
Tone
that broke my heart, bro.
Tone and Alex were like, literally, they're like, is this kid joking or is he for real? Like, and I'm like, you guys don't understand. I'm living with this war every single day. Every Facebook feed, every Twitter, every text could be the possibility of someone being like, your cousin or your grandpa or your uncle, whatever, is dead now. And I was like, how do I convey this to my two bosses? I just went to the back and just cried, dude, because my aunt sent us an audio clip being like, I am standing in rubble right now, in shards of glass, and we just got hit by a missile maybe 20 minutes ago, and the entire back room is blasted. Like, she's like, thank God no one was hurt. But she's like, if we had the 20 kids in the other room, She's like, we'd be dead. All of us would be decimated. And you're just like, how do I go back and activate these 5 fucking lines at T-Mobile and hold that type of...
You want new service?
Your family's been affected by it.
Dude, very much so. We've had a lot of casualty. I mean, so much so, dude, I don't even want to mention the number, but it's over 20. You know, but alhamdulillah, I mean, we're told as Muslims, like, do not say that they are dead. They are with God. Like, if you die in that situation where, like, you were innocent and an oppressor came and toppled your home over you, and just toppled your home over you. Like, we're told, like, God is with those who are patient. Allah is with those who endure. Allah is with those who are steadfast. And dude, that's what I'm seeing is like, you have this generation of broken people who are taking the element of Islam and they're using it to cope with what their current status is. And then on the other side, dude, you have people who are taking that same Islam and they're using it to cope with what their status is, but they're taking this complete military back road to it. That's just like, I have vengeance in my heart. But you have to realize every time God talks about punishment, he talks about his mercy right afterwards. So there's never just this continual punishment and wrath. It's just like, yo, you're a conscious creature. And yeah, you done fucked up. You know what I mean?
But
come back to it. Realize yourself. You're an intellectual creature. You're a smart creature. And when you come back to it, you know what I mean? You'll find God there. And that's really all it's saying. But then how do you say, you know, I have so much anger in my heart that the only way that I feel that God would feel satisfied with me, or if I would give this injustice like a counter, you know, movement, is if I just pulled this trigger to anyone who even flinched, to anyone who even breathed a word against, you know, the Syrian people, or even said anything about this. Like, literally, bro, it was just like, you feed into the cycle and the perpetual, just the death. And I said, dude, the children are the one who, in the end, you have a whole generation that are not going to go to school. Whole generation that are going to be illiterate. Whole generation of kids that have their limbs missing. And that's the generation that's going to have to deal with Justin Bieber, whatever the fuck kind of kids he pumps out into the world, and the Kardashians or whatever these idiots are pumping out. Like, we're building 2 worlds, bro, and they're going to come to each other and they're going to look at each other like 2 different species. Like, we're going to be like, what human are you?
I never even thought about that.
Nah, that's crazy.
It's like Book of Eli type shit.
Oh my god, I haven't seen that, so I don't get the reference. But
let me tell you.
Not for real though.
No, but just like
kids, aliens.
Maybe in 10 years, those
Different
2 generations will meet and they'll be like, I don't know who you are. I was raised in rubble. And the other one will say, I don't know who you are. I was raised in perfection. You know, Dubai is a perfect example. You know, 200 miles away from Dubai is
slums,
dude. You know, so may God help us and give us all understanding and eliminate any arrogance in our hearts, no matter who we are in any way.
That's a good. I think that's a
Syrian lives matter.
That's a good way to end it.
Something positive that we can, like something to bring it back up that we can.
Whatever. I think the next step is to remember that you are never powerless, or you are never unarmed, you are never outside of any sphere of influence. If you are alive and breathing and awake and you are able to get out of your bed, you can influence someone. And you can directly impact someone just with a smile. If someone's even approaching you, just give them even a smile to just impact them in that. Because the world needs it. Yeah. The way a thirsty plant needs water. Yeah. You know.
And every single person out there listening, man, like I said before, go watch his sister's TED Talks. It's called The Muslim on the Airplane. Muslim on the Plane. I'm sure we'll post the link below so you guys can check it out. But
I'm sorry about all my bumping on the table.
It's all good.
I have to edit that out.
You brought
they're gonna get this work, so
they're gonna get this work.
You brought the information that we needed.
Inshallah. Alhamdulillah.
All right, Zach, take us out, man.
I think
Zach slumped.
Bro,
Life after
slumpalization.
We just got 2 episodes back to back, man.
Back to
back.
Let's get a round of applause. God damn it, straight champs.
Don't do that.
Turn into the drink champs, baby.
Is that what they do? They
call
clap?
me Trav Nori.
He claps all the fucking time.
Oh. Ridiculous.
I love that
talk
shit.
to his engineer.
I'd love to be on the show.
Get some tips. No, I think it's a great conversation. I think it's something that needs to be had more. You know, I talked about me not really having that conversation with my friends just because, I don't bring it up. It's not of my interest. They don't bring it up. But I have friends from everywhere, but it's something that I wouldn't be opposed to talk about with them or to learn about, you know what I mean? And I think this podcast in general can be a learning experience for everyone, whether you're tuned into what's going on in the world or you're not. It's an interesting, there's a ton of interesting stuff in there, ton of interesting topics. And so I want to thank you for coming on. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Man. Thank you guys for having me on.
Yes, Cass.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
dude.
As long as the world keeps
Kassir.
turning, we'll always have something to talk about,
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Definitely. Thank you. Yeah, so for the Misinformed podcast, make sure you check us out again on iTunes. Make sure you comment, make sure you rate, make sure you subscribe so we can get pushed up into the featured section.
SoundCloud.
Also SoundCloud, like and comment on that. And I don't really think I have anything else to say, you guys.
It's the Misinformed podcast, you bitch.
Better to be misinformed
You can edit that.
than dumb informed.
Gang.
How do you know?
Gang.
I think it was just